Hi, you made it. I'm so glad to see each of you here today. As you know, this is the webinar called Three Ways to Handle Drama in the Moment Without Freezing or Shutting Down. And my name is Amy Reimer, and I'm so glad to have you all here today. Thanks for coming. So let's get started. So around the holidays, do any of your family members make you feel like this? Or maybe like this? They question your judgment, pressure you for answers, or even fall into old habits treating you like a kid as if your opinion doesn't even matter. And it's a great time of year right now, but it can also be stressful if you're dealing with friends and family who bring drama into your life. But you don't have to be mean or pushy to get what you need in these situations. And I'm going to share with you today the easy and practical ways that you can be consistently calm, kind, and confident in the moment, even when others are frustrated or angry or somehow edgy. Because in my opinion, it's really not fair when somebody throws you off balance anytime they feel like it just because they want to bring their drama into your life. You deserve to feel centered and calm regardless of how others feel. And right now, you might not believe that it's possible to be kind when your mom or your brother or your aunt is angry towards you, but I want you to know that it is possible. And you are the key to making that happen. So today, I'm going to share with you the ways to do this. And by the end of the webinar, you'll know exactly how to respond with confidence and kindness to handle drama in a way that makes you feel good. And the bonus is that it's also going to make other people feel good too. So when I was 6 years old, I just moved to the US from England with a cute little English accent, and I was sitting on the floor with the other kids in my first grade class. The teacher asked us what we should do when we get on a school bus, and I raised my hand and I said, "Put on your seatbelt," thinking I was giving a very logical and correct answer. And I was wrong. And I remember feeling this really strong sense of injustice and even confusion for getting it wrong because, I was new to this culture, new to this school. I'd never been on a school bus before. And I really felt like I was just doing the right thing by participating in the activity. And in my little 6-year-old brain, I just thought like, well, if school buses don't have seat belts, well, that's kind of dumb. That's just kind of dumb. Like they probably should. And so all of these things mixed together just gave that sense, like that feeling of unfairness. And it got even worse because the teacher just moved on and called on somebody else. And I didn't get the chance to explain why my answer had made sense to me. So since I was a quote, nice girl, I didn't speak up and say what I really felt in that moment. And there was that moment of not feeling seen or heard or acknowledged and not being allowed to clarify where I was coming from. Since then, I've had so many experiences like that where I didn't get to explain myself, or I got talked over or cut off. And I've also seen the people around me who didn't speak up with confidence when it counted the most because they didn't know the strategies that I'm going to teach you today. So I am really passionate about being sure that people are treated fairly, and that's one of the reasons I went into journalism as a photographer. Then I worked with underserved youth in Philadelphia, and it's why I started this work in conflict resolution, to really even things out and to be sure that everyone gets their side of the story heard. And that's also what I want for you. So to respond to others in a way that's confident so that you can get your voice heard and really, in the end, get what you really need. So by the end of the webinar today, you are going to know three things. One is how to be in control of your emotions and reactions so that you can respond with kindness every single time. And the second one is how to react in a confident way so that you can clarify the situation that you're in with somebody else and get on the same page. And then the third thing is how to figure out what you're really feeling and thinking so that you can ask for what you really need in the moment and get it. And then at the end, we'll also have time for questions. So I really encourage you to think about those as we're going through. And if you have something, jot it down so that I can help you even further. And for those of you who do stick around, I also have a special offer for you at the end. So it can be really hard to know the right balance between being, quote, nice and when to speak up in the moment. And the point of the webinar is really to help you find that right balance for you. Because, right now you're getting cut off, talked over, confronted, or ignored, and that's not really working for you anymore, and that's why you're here. So as we go through the webinar and talk about different scenarios, think about how you would have handled that situation and use your answers as little clues to help you find the right balance of kindness and confidence that works for you, because everybody's going to be different. Everybody needs something different, and it does take practice. But when you practice what I'm going to teach you today and you really blend it with your natural desire to be kind to others, you're going to find the right balance for you, and you'll start to see shifts in your relationships. So it seems obvious that we would want good relationships, but we don't always know how to make those good relationships happen. And the bigger goal here today is really to have some tools to reset those relationships with the important people in your life so that those relationships can really serve you and bring you the health and happiness that you want throughout your life. So if you haven't already, grab some paper and pen and let's get started. So, how to be in control of your emotions and reactions so that you can respond with kindness every time. And the first idea, which I feel like might even be the most important, is that you do not have to defend yourself. This webinar is all about helping you express yourself in situations where someone might be pressuring you and maybe even forcing you to give an answer or prove your point. So the first step to being in control of your emotions and reactions is to let go of that desire to defend your point of view. I mentioned the story about when I was a kid and I wasn't able to speak up for myself. And as kids, we're constantly trying to defend ourselves because the adults around us don't always want to listen and they don't really see our side of things. But as an adult, what I've learned is that most drama comes from the desire to defend ourselves. And if we really want to stop or prevent a conflict, all we have to do is stop trying to defend ourselves. So write that down. To end a conflict, stop defending yourself. And I know this can be really difficult. And I want to be really clear that there's a huge difference between the urgency and desperation of trying to defend yourself when someone is like really confrontational and angry and frustrated, and the certainty on the other side of not reacting, not defending yourself, because you're actually in control of your emotions and you're not being affected so intensely by that other person's emotions, by that other person's aggression. So the second part of this section is to know how you feel. And know how you feel so that you don't get pulled by that sense of urgency and the intensity of the other person to defend yourself, and then you start to get angry and frustrated. So when you're in a situation, you're getting bombarded, I want you just to check yourself. Just think to yourself, what emotion do I feel right now? Am I frustrated? Am I angry? Am I overwhelmed? Am I sad? Identify the emotion. And then this is a hard one for me, but where do you feel it in your body? And if you haven't done this before, then this will just take some practice too, which is to start paying attention to the little movements and the little feelings and senses in your body that respond and show you how you're feeling. And then the third thing is, what is the number? How would you put that feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? How frustrated, how angry, how overwhelmed, how sad are you? And these 3 questions are going to help you become aware of how you're responding to the situation, and that gives you more control in what you do or say next. So I'll give you an example of this. Not too long ago, I was preparing for a breakfast meeting at a company where I worked, and the woman I worked with asked me if I had enough food for all the people in the meeting. And I said yes, because I thought there were only a couple of people, but she said, no, there are always more people who come and join these meetings from within the company. And I'd only been told about how many visitors were coming from outside. And so, I thought to myself, well, that's not fair. That's not fair. Nobody told me that. And so in situations like this in the past, I would have either shut down or felt bad for not being prepared, even though it wasn't my fault. Or I would have started defending myself by explaining to her that I wasn't given the right information, blah, blah, blah. So because I've practiced this for so long, I was able to feel the frustration creeping up inside me and that sense of unfairness again, and I was able to choose a different response. So I very sincerely just said, like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know. And it actually, maybe I even said it a little bit intensely, but it didn't even come out that way. It's like, oh, I didn't know. And I switched from feeling the unfairness and wanting to explain why I didn't know to just being honest and kind and just telling her the truth and feeling, um, kind of sensing that switch. My coworker totally adjusted as well, and even later told me that it was really refreshing to hear me respond with such honesty and kindness, because she was really comfortable and familiar with somebody responding from their ego and responding with the same defensiveness that I was trying to resist, right? And, I think it is pretty amazing sometimes, these tiny little situations where we see these shifts in our relationships. When we choose to respond differently, the people around us really do adjust to that. And what's awesome is that we give them the opportunity to adjust, because they might not do it on their own, and they might not even know how or what it would look like in order to do it on their own. So it's a chance to give them an example of what that is. And like I said, like later on, she and I've talked about it many, many times, and how transformative that was for her to see my response in such a sincere way. So what I would like to do now is just have you think of a recent situation where you felt attacked or confronted by somebody, and ask yourself, what emotion did you feel? And these three questions we just looked at a minute ago, what emotion did you feel, and where did you feel it in your body? And what number on the scale of 1 to 10 would you put your intensity of that emotion? So if you're only at a 4 or 5 on the scale, you're probably in a good place to be able to think and respond with clarity to the situation. But if you freeze or shut down when someone that you, if you, uh, if you freeze or shut down when someone treats you unfairly one time, and then another and another, you'll start to pass that 4 or 5 level. And one day that same situation that started at a 5 might actually be at a 10. And that's the moment when you might explode. So, even nice girls can fly off the handle, right? So it's because you're trying to contain and even ignore some of those emotions rather than observing them and getting to know them and processing them. So when you hit a 10, it also takes a lot more effort to respond with clarity and kindness, instead of when you're actually feeling like a 4 or a 5, to be able to address it at that time and acknowledge your feelings, and maybe even approach the situation that you're dealing with the other person. So that's really important, that 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 it's going to be easier if you approach something at a 4 or 5 on the scale than if you wait until it gets to be a 10 and you feel like you want to blow up or explode. And so there's one more thing you can do to manage your emotions so that you can stay calm and consistent in the moment. And it's really, really simple. So I know that sometimes it feels too simple or silly, the idea of taking a deep breath, because we say it all the time. But you actually do have something called a vagus nerve, which is rooted in your head, and it goes down to your abdomen. And it touches your heart and your other organs along the way. And the job of the vagus nerve is to slow down your heart rate, your blood pressure, and your other organs. And that gives you a sense of calm. So all the physical symptoms of anxiety or anger, like the racing heart, shakiness, upset stomach, dry mouth, like sweaty palms, all of those are the result of your vagus nerve disengaging. So the lucky part is that you have the power to keep your vagus nerve engaged by doing deep breathing. And that's going to keep you more calm in times of stress. So this works because the vagus nerve actually, once it's stimulated, it triggers the release of a specific substance that acts as a tranquilizer. So I'd like to take a moment right now to practice this with you, and I'm going to guide you through it. So really, it's just sit comfortably and I'm going to explain to you what we're going to do, and then we'll do it together. So you're going to take a deep breath in for 4 seconds, and instead of breathing through your chest, you're going to breathe through your belly. And it's going to be like as if you're pregnant. You're going to breathe into where you're pregnant, and then you're going to hold the breath for 4 seconds with the big belly and release it for another 4 seconds until you have a flat stomach again. So we're going to do this 3 times, and I'm going to do it with you. And I just want you to notice, what is that response in your body and your mind? How do you feel? Okay, so breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 2, 3, 4, and breathe it out, 2, 3, 4. And this is breathing through your stomach again, not through your chest. So you're probably already feeling how effective this is. And we're going to do this 2 more times just so you can get a sense of how to do it for yourself. So breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding 3, 4, and breathing out 2, 3, 4. Breathe in 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, and out 2, 3, 4. So what do you notice? Good job. And you can do this anytime, anywhere, after you've noticed how you're feeling, like the step we just did beforehand, which is kind of getting a sense of, okay, where am I at on the scale? How am I feeling? What's an emotion I attach to this? And then in my body, I'm noticing myself get stressed, and then using this breathing as a way to calm yourself back down again. So you might be thinking, but what if something's really important to me and I can't just ignore it? So, you can calm yourself down, but then what? I don't want you to ignore something that's important to you. You do have needs, totally normal. It's great to express them. The key is to express them in a way that's honest and clear and as much in the moment as feels good to you. So the sooner you can approach it, the better. And we're going to be talking about this in both of the next two, the next 2 steps. So, so the second idea that I'm going to share with you today is how to react in a confident way so that you can clarify the situation and get on the same page with others. So first, I just want to mention that it takes a lot of humility to take responsibility for your emotions and your reactions. So if you get through that first step, congratulate yourself, because you've identified and started to manage your emotions, and that in itself is a success. So keep that humility in mind as we go through this next step, because it's going to help you stay curious and open to understanding the other person instead of shutting down and avoiding whatever it is that's bothering you in that moment. So now that you have your emotions under control, you're able to put your focus back on the other person, and you're going to start clarifying the situation and try to get on the same page with this person. So I have a client who's going to be at her sister's house for Christmas this year, and her sister's always on edge and really frustrated when she's trying to put all these details together for the meal. And I mean, it's kind of a bummer because you just want to enjoy each other and not be stressed about the food. But I helped her think through how she can respond differently to her sister's frustration in order to bring calm to herself in the moment instead of shutting down. Because her tendency was to just shut down. She has kind of a pattern with her sister, and this is just how she responds to it. I'm just drinking some water. So let's use that. Let's use that as an example, or something similar. We'll choose something similar. So let's say you're having a special dinner or Christmas at your mom's house, and she passes you in the kitchen and she says something like, "I wish you had brought a nicer bowl for the mashed potatoes. I used my last one for the salad, and I'm embarrassed that we have to use this Tupperware." So the first step, because, well, the first step is really what we just went through with that checking in with yourself, the emotion, how you're feeling, what is it on the scale of, and where do you feel in your body. So the more you practice this, the faster you'll get at it. And so in that moment, that's something that you're tapping into, right? So this second piece is how you can respond to her verbally. And so the second piece is repeating back what you hear. So you could say like, oh, I see. Like, oh, you're embarrassed that you have to use the ugly Tupperware for the mashed potatoes. And you don't have to repeat back everything, but you definitely don't want to skip the feelings. The feelings are important because that helps to make somebody feel heard. So you don't want to say like, oh yeah, the mashed potatoes are in the Tupperware. But to say something, she's embarrassed. Your mom's embarrassed that she has to use a Tupperware. So identifying embarrassed when you repeat back to her what you've heard, that's really important. And then the second really important thing is that you want to check in and be sure that you understood correctly, right? So check that you understood the facts and feelings correctly. And this is totally dependent on the situation as to exactly what you say. So practice, test it out, do some experimenting, see what feels good. In this case, I might say, is that how you're feeling? So like, oh, you're embarrassed that you have to use the Tupperware for the mashed potatoes. Is that how you're feeling? You can also say, did I hear that right? Did I miss anything? Is that correct? So depending on the circumstance, you might use something different. The point is really just to give the person an opportunity to either correct you, because you might be wrong. So you're giving them a chance to correct you, get more clarification, or you're giving them a chance to tell you more about that, to expand more on it and express more about how she's feeling. And then you can get more curious and say something like, I'd love to understand more about what's bothering you. Well, this isn't how I would say it. How I would say it is, I'd love to understand more about what's bothering you. Can you tell me more about that? And, in this case too, because I feel a little bit offended because she's talking about my Tupperware, this is an opportunity to this is kindness. I mean, this is kindness. So you're trying to really understand what is her concern, because if we're in the middle of Christmas dinner or some special dinner or whatever, and I know that she's already frustrated, I know that my Tupperware is probably not the source of her frustration, right? So this is me responding very sincerely and openly with kindness to show support in a way that she might respond to. She might not. She might just blow me off. But this is me showing kindness, and it's incredible how when you approach things this way, people respond to it because it's sincere, it's loving. and and then the last step is, you could also say, is there more you'd like to tell me about that? So can you tell me more about that? Or is there more you'd like to tell me about that? And that just opens up the conversation. And so you can use this as an opportunity to start a conversation, or just kind of fish around. You're just kind of in curiosity mode, like, I wonder why the Tupperware is bothering her so much. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it seems to be to her. So, and then the last step after so doing these two things back and forth, actually, you could repeat this over and over and over again, and you guys could actually have a conversation where you're repeating back the facts and feelings and checking that you understood correctly. You're going to just do that over and over again. And you can do this in any conversation. This is not just when you're feeling like frustrated or annoyed. Like, this is any conversation. This will help you clarify what the other person is telling you, because the whole goal in this second step is to get on the same page, to understand them better. So let's say you're going back and maybe she's expressing more. It's like, well, it's not really the Tupperware. I'm just frustrated. I feel like I'm doing all the work and this and that. And that could lead into a different kind of conversation that you could explore with her. And then the last piece is to really find the common ground, because in any discussion, any frustration, any conflict, there's always an opportunity. Again, this is kindness coming back to, well, what is it that we actually have in common? What are we trying to achieve here? Why are we even together at this dinner making this food? And so you could say, well, like, let's see. So maybe you both love making food for the family, or even though the bowl isn't nice, all the food has arrived and it's going to be delicious. or seeing everyone enjoying the food around the table is so much fun. So you can express that in a way that she shares in that with you. So saying, well, even though the mashed potatoes aren't in the nicest bowl, I think we really worked well together to make this food special this year. It's just identifying what it is that we actually do share. And I think also it's actually about seeing the bigger picture, because it's easy to focus on the details and then forget that common ground because we're focusing on that particular issue. But really, the bigger picture is something really positive and something really good that can actually lift you out of that situation and move you forward into a new conversation or the next thing you need to get done. So that's a really beautiful way to, get on the same page. And then the third piece we're talking about today is how to figure out what you're honestly feeling and thinking so that you can ask for what you really need in the moment and get it. And now that you've found the common ground and you're on the same page with the other person, you're in a really good place to share how you feel and what's important to you. So the previous steps were kind of preparing you for that. And now let's pretend like we're still using so all three of these steps, you can use them in a sequence. So, and I mean within like a minute or within 2 minutes or 5 minutes, like it can happen really quickly in the moment. So initially you're checking in with yourself, and then you're trying to get on the same page with this person, figure out what's really bothering them. You're repeating back and clarifying, and then you're speaking to your common ground, what it is you have in common. And now you're at this place where now you're like, I still have some needs. Like, I actually don't like the way she said that about the Tupperware. I'm just going to use that as an example because it's easy, but obviously you can go talk about any topic in this way. So now that you found the common ground, it's your turn to share in a way that helps you feel confident that you can express yourself clearly and that you've also identified what it is that's really bothering you. So let's pretend like we're using all three of these steps in a sequence, and let's use the situation again with Mom at Christmas. And now you're ready to share your needs in a kind and confident way. So we're going to use something called an I statement, and it's really meant to help you really figure out what it is you're feeling and what you would like to see happen in the future. As a result of your feelings, what is it you would like to see change or to see happen differently? And when you do this, especially because we're talking about doing it in the moment, and this will take practice too, but the more you practice it, the more quickly you'll be able to do it in the moment. But when you address something, it is important to focus on something very specific and as timely as possible, something very relevant, not something that happened last year. Or if it is, it's addressed in a particular way. But in this case, we're talking about being in the moment, right? So she's talking about the Tupperware. So when you respond with the I statement, you're going to respond talking about something related to the Tupperware and that situation that's just happened. It might lead to a deeper conversation. It could definitely lead to something else. That's amazing. That's wonderful. But when you approach it, you want to approach it very specifically. And the reason is because you don't want to catch your mom off guard or lose her attention. So if she's busy running around making a bunch of food and you start talking about what happened last year at Christmas when she said such and such and did such and such, like, you might lose her attention, and she just is not ready in that moment um, to listen and to be ready to really respond in a way that you probably want her to. So focus on the moment and focus on what's happening right in front of you. And there are 4 questions that you're going to ask yourself. And you can write these down. I'm going to have them on another slide as well as we go through this as an example. So, what specific thing happened to make you upset? How did that situation make you feel? Why do you think you felt that way? And what do you want to see happen differently next time? So I've rewritten these questions into statements, and so that we can actually use it. So in the example with the mashed potatoes, what I would say is to my mom, although we've never had a problem with mashed potatoes. So when you say you're embarrassed to use the Tupperware for the mashed potatoes, so I'm responding to what happened. And for me, the what happened is she said she's embarrassed about the Tupperware for the potatoes. And it's an observable action too. So it's not like, it's not, let's see, how would you describe it? It's something that you can see that's like a fact, like something that actually happened, something that's observable, something that's real, not like when you make me feel like I'm a kid, that's not an observable action. That's me interpreting her behavior, right? So we're going to do an observable action, which is when you say you're embarrassed to use the Tupperware for the mashed potatoes, ... The next one is, how did I feel? I feel guilty. And why do I feel that way? Because even though I did my best to prepare the food in the way you like it, you're not happy. So what would I like to see happen next? Or what would I like to see in the future that would be different? And you can go with this a lot of ways, so I'm just going to give one example. What I would like to see happen is that we can enjoy the mashed potatoes, even though they're in the Tupperware container. And for the next get together, please help me remember to bring the food in a nicer container. And if I'm honest, like, this is coming from a very kind place, right? I'm really, really trying to make her happy, you know? And I think that's a great place to start. And if that doesn't feel natural, or if you're putting yourself in this situation, you're like, I would never say that. I mean, I might not even ever say it either, but it is a way of approaching it to where you can, you're looking to actually solve the problem, and you're really looking for a solution. So there are lots of things you could say, but that's what I would say. Like, what I would like to see happen is that we just enjoy the mashed potatoes as they are, even though they're in the Tupperware container. And next time we get together, would you mind helping me remember to bring them in a nicer container? And so the I statement can be used in the moment. And it's really a way to, figure out how you're feeling and identify it and be clear when you express it. And it's something I use all the time with clients because it's really helpful to help them sort out their thoughts and feelings. And the more practice you do, the more you'll be able to do it in the moment. And, so I would recommend just like jotting it down, carrying it around with you. And what you can also do, if you're not ready yet to do it in the moment, you can carry around the questions with you. And then when you have a situation that you freeze or you shut down in a situation, afterwards, when you have a moment, take out the questions, take a look at them, and think through what it was that was bothering you. Think through the questions, answer them related to that situation, and use that as practice because, reflecting back on a situation is such good practice. It's such a great way to learn from our experiences and do better next time. So use it in both ways. Use it as an actual in-the-moment tool, and then also use it as a practice tool to really sort out, what is it that's bothering me about that, what happened yesterday? Like, you might have a lot of feelings and a lot of uncertainty around what's really bothering you. So use it to help you clarify what you're, what you're feeling. Because what's the alternative? The only other option is to freeze and lie awake at night thinking about the problem over and over again, right? So using these strategies for me has helped me handle the drama with confidence because I'm balanced and calm and I know how to speak up for what I need. Because I do believe you can get what you want and be kind about it. And when you communicate in the ways I've showed you today, you'll see that not only do you feel good, but the other people feel good too. So right now, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes for a minute and feel into what it would be like to handle all those relationships in your life with less drama and more confidence. feel what it's like to have kind, respectful, and drama-free relationships with the important people in your life, with your partner, your family, your friends, and even your coworkers. Now open your eyes and come into the reality of today. If you're here today, the reality is that right now you're getting stuck in the moment and you're not responding with the confidence to get what you really need. And if speaking up right now still feels really scary, I want you to know that you're completely normal. And like I've said already, like it takes practice. But the only thing between where you are today and where you want to be is more of that practice with the strategies like the ones I shared today. And in order to get to that place, you need guidance on what to do and where to put your energy, and someone to role play with and give you feedback as you take action. So if you're ready to take the next step and you know you don't want to keep trying to figure this out on your own anymore, I invite you to sign up for a free 30-minute confidence boosting session with me. And in this call, we'll talk about those times when you freeze and shut down. And I'll give you a strategy that you could put into practice right away to build your confidence so that you can handle any drama that comes up in the next few weeks. If you know that you want to have this session with me and open up a new tab or a window in your browser and type in the webpage that you see on the screen. It's amyreimer.com/free. And when you get to that page, you'll see my calendar. And here's the thing. This week is the only time to get support before the end of the year. I'm going on vacation and I just won't be available till January, but I really want you to get the support you need right now. So amyreimer.com/free, get on my calendar this week because I don't want you to miss out on the chance to bring that blend of confidence and kindness to every single gathering you have this merry time, this holiday season. So now, actually, I'd like to give you some time to ask questions about anything that you've heard today. All you have to do is type your question into the chat box that you see on your screen. And when you submit it, you're only submitting it to me because I've set it up to only be private, so you don't have to worry about sharing it with everybody. And so I'm going to check out what you're putting in. Okay, so there's a question around the clarifying question. So, when I said you want to repeat back what you hear, and then you want to be sure that you heard it correctly by clarifying, like, did I get that right? And it sounds like this question is about sometimes when you say those, it can come across as judgmental or defensive or rude. And so that's the concern. And so I feel like really, you know what your intention is, and you know if you're trying to say it in a way that's kind and not rude. And so I would just say, practice it, try it out, see what happens, and just do it from a pure, honest, good intention. And I think it's going to start coming across that way. And with some people in your life, if they're used to hearing you respond a certain way, that's maybe not that. Maybe it's not clarifying. Maybe it is more judgmental. Then it's natural that maybe at first they're not going to quite get it. They're not going to be on board, and maybe they will think that you're like, maybe they'll get defensive based on that question. But I would say the more you do it, the more they'll see, oh, this is actually like she genuinely wants to know how I'm feeling and if she's accurate in interpreting what I'm saying. So I would say just trust yourself, just to try it out and try to do it in a way that's the most kind that you can, and just give it a good practice. So what if the person doesn't seem to listen? Oh, okay. So what if the person doesn't seem to listen when I use the I statement? Okay, there are a couple responses to this. So one is that actually in the last webinar, we talked a little bit about this, which is to build trust. And it's kind of back to this example that we used today, which is If I started talking with my mom about something that happened last year or some deeper issue or topic, it's possible that she wouldn't have been receptive in that moment to hear it. And, depending on the person and the situation, you might need to just practice starting from ground zero and just building more trust before you want to get vulnerable with them, before you want to share these ideas with them. Because if you try it and they're not receptive, you might feel bad, and you want to be sure that they're going to be a little bit receptive, and you can do that by building trust with them. And if you want to know how to build trust, send me an email, because I've written some blog posts about it. I can send you the links, and there's some tips in there about how you go about building trust with somebody, and that certainly makes them more receptive to whatever it is you have to say. And it just makes you feel also that much more confident approaching them and talking to them about whatever it is that you want to share through the I statement, um, because you know that they're going to be more responsive. I'm just scrolling through. Okay, so at what point do you decide to let an issue go if you're continually not being heard? How do you decide? Well, I think there are a couple things. So the first thing is, of course, it's okay to agree to disagree. It's okay to allow a conversation to not be resolved. It's something actually that in the past I always had a lot of challenge around. Like, if I saw a problem, I wanted to deal with it right away. And I don't know, I think a lot of people are that way. But what I understand now is that it's so valuable sometimes to allow things to flow a little bit. And, if somebody's really upset and they don't want to address it in that moment, it's totally okay. Um, First, I would just say that to go back to yourself. And if you're in a conflict and you're not sure if it's going to get resolved, or if you're ready to, like, leave the conversation, check in with yourself. And are you defending yourself? Are you um, creating more confusion? And how can you then calm yourself down using that breathing technique, or checking in with yourself to see what you're where you're at on the scale of how you're feeling? And that's a great first step. So if you're in the middle of something already and then you need to calm yourself down or kind of take a step back, that's a great way to do it. And then you can always decide to revisit the conversation at another time. So and honestly, I think that's a great option. If you're in the middle of something and then it's just not going anywhere, you can always say, like, I need to take a break. Can we talk about this again tomorrow? Can we talk about it again next week? Can we talk about it in an hour after I take a walk? Like, whatever it is that between the two of you feels like a comfortable time frame, or a new time to set. It can also be, so many factors, right? You could be distracted. You could be like on your way to get somewhere. Neither one of you has time for the conversation. So there's just so many reasons why conversations just don't get kind of resolved, or they seem to be going nowhere, and you just don't know at what point to end it. That's a good way to check in with yourself. Oh, okay. So sometimes a person doesn't identify their feelings or embarrassment very easily. Right. Okay. So yeah, in the example, um, I set it up so that she identified her feelings, because I wanted you all to see an example of how, when I repeat back, I want to be receptive to the feelings and the facts, not just the facts. So I set it up that way, but this is a great question, because it does speak to the fact that a lot of times people aren't aware of their emotions, and they're not even going to say something that simple like I'm embarrassed to use this Tupperware. Um, so one way I would say, stick with it, right? Like, do the repeat back still, and clarifying to see if you got if you heard right. And if the person's not using emotions, that's totally fine. Just do your best to, you're in exploring mode, right? So you're just curious, you're trying to understand them better, and allow yourself the patience to yeah, try to figure it out, because they might never share their emotions, or they might only do it rarely, and that's okay too. Like, the goal is certainly not to force them to be fully aware of something in that moment. But of course, you can always share with them the I statement. I mean, I tell people that all the time. If you know the I statement, share it with everybody you know, because especially the people closest to you, because when they see that you're using it, they have permission to use it as well. And actually, that's the ideal way to use it. If two people are both using the I statements, then there's really the opportunity to go back and forth, and create a conversation around something that maybe is kind of a difficult topic, or it's a conflict of some kind. And when you're both using the I statements, you're really taking responsibility for yourselves and your own needs, because you're not just identifying your feelings and what bothered you, but you're also saying what you would like to see happen differently next time. So, and then the other point that I didn't actually add on this time, but it's to the I statement at the end, is not just to say what you want, but to then also say, what do you think about that? Or is that possible for you? Or can we work out something around that? Or, does that sound reasonable to you? There are lots of ways that you can actually open up the conversation at the end of an I statement. Even if the other person doesn't know what an I statement is, you're opening it up for them to contribute, basically, to offer, um, to join the conversation, because the goal with all of this is to create more communication and allow for more flow. So that's a great question. Okay, good. I think we got through it all. Unless you have one last one. Yeah, that's great. Good questions. Thank you. So let's pretend you've just been confronted by someone who's pressuring you for an opinion about something, and you start to feel the pressure, but then you very calmly and easily respond in a way that makes you feel amazing. You respond with confidence and kindness, and you don't freeze and you don't shut down. You just know how to handle it. That's what I really want for you. That's the ease and the confidence that's possible. So if you're ready to get support to build your confidence, sign up for my free session where I'll give you a strategy to help you reset your relationships this holiday. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you. That is all I have today. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed learning about the 3 ways to handle drama in the moment without freezing or shutting down, and how you can apply those strategies to your daily life. And I hope you go into the rest of your day feeling inspired, excited, and ready to take some action. So thank you, and have a great day.